Thank you guys for coming. We owe this first stop to Jackie Fisher, who is a real force in all of the Bronx, and she introduced us to this garden. This is part of Marble Hill House's community garden, and they are using this as an educational garden.
We're starting out this walk at the Marble Hill Houses, of which Marble Hill Garden is part. NYCHA operates about 670 of such community gardens all over the city in the 5 boroughs. That's quite a bit. You walk by and say, oh, one little garden, what might that do? 670 of those, and if every New York City housing complex had a community garden, and then if any co-op and every condo building did the same, if we aggregate this, we could grow quite a bit of food here.
And we have a lot of partners on this project. I mean, Manhattan College and their sustainability, their interns come down in the summer, and we work with the students in the summer camp, the campers. So several days a week we bring them out and teach classes including sustainability issues. And it changes their habits for when they get older in terms of eating and avoiding certain illnesses and maladies.
You think about it as food, but this is a gorgeous painting. And aesthetically, this is a bus stop. And it has literally changed the way people wait for the bus. Instead of just going like this, they hang over the fence, they ask what's there, they get to taste sometimes what's there, but it's really a painting. You see people literally change, the children change, they run up to the fence, they want to know what's in there. And it's very, very stimulating. A lot of the elderly, in particular, spend a lot of time here. When people think about planting, it's not just food, but it's the aesthetics that come with having this in your midst, and it has literally changed the way this walkway functions.
And it's reminiscent of particularly to the elderly, what they grew up with either in the South or in the Caribbean. They talk about that. They're like, oh, I grew up planting, I grew up growing this. And so they look at it and they're able to identify their roots as well here in the garden.
Marble Hill was named after finding marble dolomite, lots of marble dolomite that was actually used to build lots of the buildings downtown on Wall Street, so the federal buildings, and all of those buildings were made from stuff that was actually harvested here.
We are technically, politically, legally speaking, not in the Bronx right here. Marble Hill was part of Manhattan, of the island, and it became part of the Bronx due to a shipping canal that was carved between Manhattan and Marble Hill, and the creek that was running north of Marble Hill and separating it from the Bronx became filled in.
So we wanted to ask if along this walk, if you see something that on the street or wherever, something that you want to pick up along the way that will help us think about what we want to capture for a future, or if there's something you want to talk about that actually would be something that you wanted to change perhaps about the future.
We purposefully picked this place to stop, but only briefly. We are now crossing the Major Deegan Expressway, which was completed in 1956 and became part of the Interstate 87. It clearly severs this neighborhood, and it creates, I don't need to actually spell it out, noise and pollution and a lot of other aggravation. The idea is to relieve New York City of trucks more quickly by bringing them through the Bronx. We all know the reservoir in Central Park, which you can jog around, you can walk around. I don't know if you can walk your dog around it, but it's pretty much accessible to humans. This reservoir was built in 1906, based on a design by Benjamin Church, to serve the Croton Aqueduct system, which brings water from upstate New York into the city.
In our research, we had to study the entire aqueduct system and learn that this is the part of the old and the new Croton waterway, and there are 2 other main arteries that serve New York City. One is the Delaware and one is the Catskill. It supplies 550 gallons a day if needed, And this is the smallest of the three. So this actually just gives 10% of what is needed in the entire system. And most of this area this aqueduct is servicing the Bronx and north. And everything else is pretty much going south. So there are 12 reservoirs, lakes that make up this one Croton system. And this one was the one that was under the most pressure. So it's the smallest, it's also under the most pressure because there's the most building around it. So it became the least safe. So because of that, the US government said that the city basically had to build this filtration system. This water is still going through this purification process. Why do we still have this fence? So the current problem is if we had this 12 feet more space, you can really see how valuable all of this green space is in every part of New York City. This could be a great thing for everyone who lives, works, and goes to school around here. Why is it still fenced off when, like you said, Central Park isn't? So those are the things that are currently still being discussed. But it was also really fortunate that in this immediate neighborhood, in this immediate area, there are lots of co-op housing that's been around. The oldest in the country is right down the street, the amalgamated houses.
And it was actually 3 generations of buildings. I think it started in 26, and then in 50 there was another generation, and then in mid-60s they built the 2 towers to replace existing housing, and so those are the 3 generations that we have. It's roughly around 1,500 units. I've been here since 78, as I said, so that's 37 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, how much has your rent gone up?
It's gone up considerably, but compared to other housing, it's still very reasonable.
We have been walking along the edge of Cortlandt Park, which was part of a master plan by Frederick Olmsted, who, as he laid out the street system for this part of the Bronx, wanted to include a large park. Cortlandt Park is bigger than Central Park, it's bigger than Prospect Park. It is over 1,100 acres large, and it's the 3rd or 4th biggest park within the 5 boroughs.
We were going to have a time capsule that was left here, but we thought better of it on our walk. We changed our plan and thought we should find a more permanent home for the time capsule. We thought we would just share the objects that, if anybody collected objects on the way.
I was noticing that almost all the trash on the ground, if they weren't condoms, they were food wrappers. But if you think about what happens to that as opposed to the piece of kale, that is more colorful but harder to disappear.
I love the foliage of fall. And the reason why I pick natural things is because I'm all about something that helps the earth, that's able to decompose and not contaminate it.
This might disappear in a very short period of time. This is kind of a construction, a pencil with a lead filled in. This may or may not survive year, 3,000?
2034?
2034.
The oak is a mighty tree with huge roots and huge branches, and I'm thinking about the future. It takes a long time to grow all that stuff, but it's going to last forever.
Me and my partner over here, we were cleaning up, and
I gave
found 25 cents and penny.
Well, I thought it was kind of ironic that I found this, which is like part of the Million Tree campaign that Mayor Bloomberg started a few years ago, and I hope that we're achieving the goal of this campaign very quickly, and that there will be many, many more trees sprouting from that campaign, where that campaign started.
I also wanted to put this in to represent more community gardens in the future. So from the community garden that we started at.